Hi guys, Bran here, and welcome to our PTB Thoughts video. I know it's a day late, but we got in there on Wednesday. We played a lot of the PTB. We played it for a really, really long time, and now I have my thoughts, feelings, and concerns regarding the PTB having to do with the Singularity, the end transmission chapter. So let's go ahead and get started. First, I'm going to talk about the Singularity himself, the new killer. Actually, really surprisingly fun. A character I really, really enjoy. Very, very high movement when it comes to when you actually get to goop people, when you get the little biopods on their backs, teleporting to them and just blowing through pallets, chasing after them, vaulting super quick is super fun. It feels like a little mini Myers tier 3 when you're in your overclock mode after you teleport to someone. And when you're in those moments where you're very quickly throwing a biopod camera up, using that biopod camera to put a biopod on the survivor's back, and then teleporting straight to him, and then you start a really quick trace, that is actually super exhilarating and super fun and super thrilling, and I really love this character a lot for that reason. However, as you've probably heard throughout the grapevine, through many different content creators, and I definitely agree with this, is that if you have a team that's actually pretty coordinated with, making sure every printer has an EMP available, essentially they're going to be able to very, very quickly undo your power, very, very quickly undo your power, to the point where there were some matches where I felt like I did not have a power, because it doesn't matter if I biopod the survivor, because if they were holding an EMP, they were just going to immediately undo what I was trying to attempt to do. And the survivors, even if they weren't actively, going to a printer and actually going through the entire process, the whole animation to get the EMP, unlike most items in the game that work similarly, the EMPs can be just left in the box after a survivor primes it. Now, usually what happens in other instances with this, if like the Resident Evil chests, both for Nemesis and Wesker, you have to at least pick up the item, take it out, and set it on the ground, or else the chest just reshuts. The EMPs do not work this way, so if you fully prime the 3D printer, it just stays there. So in mid-chase, a survivor can go grab that, pull it out, and get rid of your biopods very easily. And it's just a little much. It's just a little much. It's not as excessive as a lot of content creators are making it out to be, but it is definitely something I noticed is a slightly on the strong side, and could probably do with some sort of slight nerf, that being time to get the EMPs, or less available chests, or maybe making it more in line with the other items, the other killer items, where you have to actually pick it up and set it down at the very least. Other than that, very, very fun killer. He's not going to be like top 5, top 10 or anything, but he's another very, very solid B tier, especially if they make the adjustments that they are wanting to, that they will probably make, considering the fact that EMPs seem to be a little bit on the strong side. In terms of the killer perks, there's really nothing to really write home about. That's kind of the one thing that the two things I found actually kind of really disappointing about this chapter, is the killer perks are really nothing to write home about. Genetic limits, which makes people exhausted after healing, never found that helpful, never really noticed it. You'd be better off just running something else in this slot, like Fearmonger, that works a little bit more consistently. Force Hesitation was an interesting idea, but fits better with slugging killers. I can see this being a fun pick on like twins, for example, especially since people like to run up and kick Victor right after you down somebody. So this could be helpful for those characters, but I didn't really find, besides that niche situation of like a slugging killer, I didn't find this very appealing. And lastly, Machine Learning, which gives you undetectable and haste after a gen you've damaged is completed, but I feel like Tinker is just a better pick here. I feel like Tinker just does a similar thing and actually prevents the gen from being finished, instead of just giving you a small, very, very small buff after a gen is finished. I'd rather have the effect before the gen is done. So unfortunately, the Singularity perks are nothing to write home about. Gabriel Soma, though, the survivor, who is a clone, by the way, very interesting lore, it comes with some pretty cool perks that I actually do like. I've been talking for a while about how I wish there were more chase perks survivor, especially since they nerfed and took away Spine Chill's Vault Speed, which is one of the few looping perks that we actually had in the game for survivor. There's actually a couple of these that are really, really good. Troubleshooter was the one that really honestly surprised me. Troubleshooter is when you're being chased by a killer, the aura of their generator with the most progress is revealed to you, and the aura of a killer is revealed to you for 6 seconds after dropping a pallet. So it's like a little mini burst of Object of Obsession, but it's only one-sided, so you see them and they don't see you, and it's a very nice brief help in chase that helps you. That it does a lot more than you think. It does a lot more than you think. I looked at this and I'm like, that's not going to be that helpful, right? But it actually won me a ton of my chases today, and I was actually very pleasantly surprised by the value I was getting out of this perk. I ran it with like Windows, Dead Hard, and it's just fun. It's just a good time, so I enjoy this. Made for this is one of the controversial perks that have come out of this. Because the point is with made for this is that the moment you're injured, and that's it, that's the only prerequisite, is that you get 3% haste effect, and you get 10 seconds of endurance after completing a healing action on another survivor. This seemed like a lot. And it's very scary on the surface, but I never really ran into situations today where I felt like the perk was winning me my matches. There were definitely times where I would hit a pallet that I wouldn't have hit earlier because of haste. However, once my exhaustion perk was gone, the perk deactivates, so yeah, the kind of like has that iron will effect where it has that limiter on it. So essentially, once you've used your exhaustion perk, you already extended the chase, so it canceling itself works out pretty well. And especially if you're running this by itself, it actually didn't end up being as big of a problem. I did run into it, and I faced it almost every match today. I never saw it causing my matches to actually go in terrible directions. Neither when I used it as Survivor was it winning the game for me. So it's just a nice little help. It seems like it'll be okay, question mark. We'll have to keep playing and keep seeing. I feel like if this ends up having to like push or shove actually needs an adjustment, I would make sure that it had a deeper prerequisite rather than just being injured. But yeah, other than that, it's fine. Scavenger one is the one that people are scared of because it's kind of like a built to last junior, except it's a little bit more efficient than built to last, because built to last you have to like leave the gen, go hop in a locker, recharge your toolbox, get back out. That's a little bit of a time investment. That's not always the most efficient thing, and built to last is still a good pick in a lot of ways, still, even with that time deficit. This one does not have that time deficit because it's based on hitting great skill checks in order to recharge your toolbox, which you're going to be hitting a lot of great skill checks on gens just naturally. It's not that difficult. So I can see this one potentially being an issue, and I know a lot of people are freaking out about it. It's kind of like the will they, won't they, kind of like the big thing that a lot of content creators are fighting about now is like, will this be OP or will it not be OP? I don't think it's going to be OP. I think it's going to be another one of those perks you look at in the end game screen and you sigh about. You're like, oh yeah, they brought that Gen Rush perk. Okay. Like we look at Hyperfocus Stakeout. Even though Hyperfocus Stakeout is not as commonly brought as something like Prove, which is very easy to just get value out of. It's going to be one of those where you're like, the gens felt like they were going fast. You're going to look, you're going to see Scavenger, and you're going to be like, oh, okay, they're running a toolbox build. Okay. Should that be adjusted before it's live? I do not know. I did not see, once again, did not see it winning matches for any of the games I played today. I did have it in my games, but it wasn't like I said, it was getting gens done faster than usual, but not enough that I was like single-handedly winning games. And it's also a residual manifest or pharmacy, 4 toolboxes on top of that. So it does a lot. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to take over the game and become the new meta, but it will definitely be something that will be very influential in winning games. Lastly, the map. The map's kind of gross. The map I kind of hate, and that's kind of the other big negative coming out of this, is like the map itself from a design perspective, just from aesthetic-wise, is very cool. I like it. It reminds me of No Man's Sky, which is a game I put a lot of hours into. But from a gameplay perspective, it is the most disgusting, disorganized map I have ever had the displeasure of playing on. There is so much junk. You thought Mother's Dwelling and New Temple remakes were bad? There's just crap everywhere, scattered all over this map. It is almost impossible to traverse this map without running into something. I can't imagine the nightmare I would have playing Hillbilly on this map, because this is disgusting. There's literally just junk and crap everywhere. There's plants, rocks, everything. And it's just so disorganized. It's not even just like in the sense of like collision, but it's like it's hard to tell what goes anywhere, because like the tiles are also done in the same style as all of the junk that's everywhere, all the plants and rocks and fauna and all that. So like I can't tell where a loop ends and a loop begins, because there's so much stuff everywhere that I don't know when we're entering a formal tile, because there are formal tiles on the map. I can't tell when those begin and end, because like everything looks the same and everything's so cluttered, it looks like a mess. It literally looks like a mess, and it's a really a shame to see such a beautiful like concept turn into just what looks like somebody took a trash bag and just dumped it upside down, a full trash bag, dumped it upside down all over the ground. It's like they took all their assets and just spewed it everywhere. It's terrible. It's not fun, and it's very bright. It hurts my eyes, and it's got the similar problem to Borgo, where everything's like this orangey, pinkish red. So I'm losing scratch marks a lot again, because everything's orangey, pink, and red, and so our scratch marks are red, so I'm losing scratch marks again. It's a nightmare. I hope they clean this map up, because it is way too cluttered and gross. It is disgusting. Last thing, the last little caveat I want to give, this last little thing before we exit, is that Pyramid Head got a pretty sizable buff in this PTB, which is that his M2 now applies Torment. So there's actually 2 different ways to apply Torment, which is very, very fun and very, very cool. but it does come with the new problem that you can kind of just follow people over to the cages and hit your M2 with your double range from far away and get them both tormented and just tunnel them right out. And it's super easy. You thought Pyramid Head had a good time tunneling before. It is the easiest it has ever been for Pyramid Head to tunnel, and it will be an absolute nightmare unless they change the way cages work or revert the M2 change. They got to do something here. Preferably, I like the M2 change. I hope they keep it. But with that, they would probably have to give you base kit endurance out of a cage, which I don't think is too much to ask. Just make that small adjustment so we can keep the cool part of the power that just got buffed and, you know, make him a little bit more fun to face. But the tunneling, it's never been easier with this character, and that will be a problem if it goes to live. So, yeah. Yeah, that's what I think about the PTB. Those are my thoughts. Thank you so much for watching today. Thank you so much for those of you who wished me well when I delivered that unfortunate news the other day. I really appreciate you so much. You guys keep proving that you guys are one of the most wonderful communities I could have ever asked for. And I really do appreciate you for being thoughtful with that. That's gonna be it for today's video, friends. Thank you so much for watching. But I do upload daily, so I will see you tomorrow. But if I don't, I will see you when I see you. Goodbye.